Hi, this is Chase Harler. I played basketball in Europe for the last 3 years, and this is DingoTalk.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is Chase Harler, WVU alumni, has played now for the past 3 seasons over in Europe, professional basketball. Chase, thank you for taking some time to sit down with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit early on in your basketball career. You're two-time West Virginia Gatorade Player of the Year, state champion in 14, runner-up in 15.
Yeah, 15 and 16.
Why basketball? Why not football? Why not baseball? What got you into basketball?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up playing flag football, baseball, and basketball. And then, as I played baseball all the way up to 8th grade. Obviously quit playing flag football in like 6th grade. So mostly it was baseball and basketball. And then when I got into high school, I would say probably 7th grade, I started taking basketball more serious. We played AAU out of a team out of Morgantown. So we did a little bit of traveling, and that really kind of, drew my attention to wanting to take it a little bit more serious. So once high school came, I was still playing travel basketball, and during travel basketball was baseball season. So I had to kind of make a decision. I probably could have done both, but, obviously I really did enjoy basketball, wanted to take it very serious. So didn't have an opportunity to play baseball in high school. However, I did run track in high school for 2 years, but, basketball is obviously my favorite sport, my first love when it came to sports.
Now, coming from Wheeling Central and the Moundsville area, why the decision for WVU? I mean, was that number one on the list? Was that like, yeah, that's where I'm going? Or were there other schools kind of in the running?
Yeah, for sure. So being from West Virginia, I was obviously a huge West Virginia fan. I think in second grade, my room got redone and it was completely blue and gold. So it's still like that now. I lived in Moundsville. My room's still the same as it was in 2nd grade. Don't live there now, obviously, but go back down there, it's still blue and gold. So, that was always my goal in the back of my mind. Like I said, I started taking basketball more serious in 7th grade, and that was kind of my goal was to play college basketball. And obviously, I wanted to go to West Virginia. At the time, I had no idea if it was attainable, what that would look like. But the first goal was just to play Division I basketball. And then obviously, if I had a choice, I would pick West Virginia. And, as the years went on, I obviously got better. And AAU played a huge role in my exposure towards Huggins because, like you said, I did go to Wheeling Central, great high school, great tradition. At the time, West Virginia basketball is reclassified now, but at the time, there was only 3 classifications, and we were the smallest. So still good basketball. Not every night was high level basketball. I'm not going to, that's just what it is. So
yeah,
in order for me to achieve the goal to play high level Division I basketball, especially at West Virginia, I had to get out there and play against better competition. Play with a team based out of Charleston at the time called the West Virginia Wildcats. They're still around, have a different team name, I believe. They're a part of like the Adidas Gauntlet. They're much bigger. You know what I mean? They're playing, they're on circuits and everything. At the time, it was just a bunch of local West Virginia kids. However, definitely competed on every weekend. So, played that for 2 years. And then the offers started rolling in after my sophomore year. Like you mentioned, we won the state championship in 2014. That was my sophomore year. And that summer, things really started taking off. My first offer was from Marshall University, pretty much like 2 months after the season ended. So Marshall University was my first offer. And then I believe it was James Madison, Elon, and Winthrop, all very good college basketball programs, probably, mid-level teams. And my goal, once I started getting interest in Division I offers, I was like, I really think WVU might be a possibility. And then we can dive into that story as well. But when WVU kind of obviously came knocking and wanted to offer me a scholarship, I committed on the spot in Coach Huggins' office, and the rest is history.
So I want to ask you, because you brought up a really interesting point, and I think now more than when you were coming up through it, the AAU programs,
Yeah.
that's more of where players are getting their exposure, correct? Like you're not necessarily seeing coaches at high school games as much as they are going to a tournament where they could see 6 or 7 guys instead of just one guy.
For sure. It definitely depends on the area too. I think West Virginia has good basketball. Some parts of West Virginia are better than others. Some teams are obviously better than others, but a lot of guys from West Virginia, I would say, get recruited on the circuit more so than the AAU circuit, more so than just pure high school basketball at this point.
All right, now let's jump into this story because I want to hear what. So, what is Bob Huggins like when he's recruiting a guy?
Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, after my sophomore year, winning states, things started picking up, and can't remember the exact timeline. I want to say it was maybe like the first big tournament in July. So let's just say the first weekend of July. We were playing in Columbus against a very good AAU program called Ohio Basketball Club, OBC. And we came out slow. We were down by like 20 points at the first quarter, end of the first quarter or something. And with my energy, my will to win, my defensive presence, just my aggressiveness, we ended up, making a great run to close the half. It carried over in the second. I ended up losing the game. However, I probably had one of my best AAU games. And luckily, Coach Huggins was sitting courtside during that game. So next week, Coach Huggins actually reaches out to my dad and says, let's get Chase down here and see how we can make him a Mountaineer. I remember that. And they had a elite camp at the first weekend of August. So in my dad and I's mind, we were thinking like, how that's a very broad statement. Let's get him down here to see how we can make him a Mountaineer. That can mean, when I get down there for the elite camps, I had a feeling that's when we would have this discussion at the elite camp. They would say, hey, like, we think you're a really good player. However, we want you to go to this school. You know what I mean? Because West Virginia at the time, like I was saying, Wheeling Central was still was a small school, but we were competing at the lowest level in West Virginia basketball. So I didn't want to leave Wheeling Central. However, I thought that they might be telling me that, or, if you do this next year, we'll be able to give you an offer. So the night before the elite camp, sitting in the living room with my family, and the question was, we didn't know if he was going to offer or not, but we said, if he would offer, what are we going to do? Are we going to, thanks, coach, appreciate the opportunity. We're going to go home and think about it for a week. And that was one of our options because things were really starting to pick up for me for the recruiting side. I mean, I had some other bigger schools reaching out and showing more interest. So, the thought process was, do we want to end the recruitment or do we want to see who else is interested? We had a conversation for like 20 minutes. And at the end of it, I was like, Mom, Dad, like if Coach Huggins offers me, I'm going to commit on the spot. Elite camp ends, go up to his office. My mom and dad are in there. Coach Huggins gives his recruiting spiel, which I don't remember at all. Like I was so nervous. At the end of it, he was like, Chase, we'd like to offer you a full scholarship to West Virginia University. And I sat there, didn't say a word. My mom was like, Chase, do you want to say something? And I was like, Coach, I'd like to verbally commit. And, stood up, gave each other hugs and committed. I believe it was August 3rd. So I was committed to West Virginia for my junior and my senior year of high school.
Now, what did you pursue when you went to WV, as you come down here to WVU?
Yeah. Talk about education wise.
Yeah.
So pretty much my mom's a dentist. My dad sells insurance, has his own agency. So both of them are, business owners. And throughout my whole life, I wanted to be a dentist and I wanted to pursue science. However, my senior year or my junior year, I had a great teacher, sadly passed away 3 or 4 years ago, but he had a business math class. I took the business math class and really was just it was very basic, but super eye-opening about kind of just the business world. So when I got to West Virginia, I pursued business administration. I graduated with that in 3 years. And then my 4th year at West Virginia, I got a master's in sports management.
Well, and education was according to going off of the bio and figuring out from the things. It's pretty important to you. You're on the Big 12 commissioner's honor roll. You're Big 12 first team all academic.
Yeah.
Why the focus so hard, or did school just did it come easy naturally, or?
I wouldn't say it came like super easy. I definitely had to study more so in some classes than others. I'll tell you, honestly, what the reason why I felt like I had to do, other than just like my inner pride, but my wife is super smart. So my wife now just got married 3 weeks ago, but she's
Congratulations.
well, thank you. So she was always getting 4.0. So I was like, I can't get 2.5s. I got to at least get a 3. I got to at least get above a 3.0 or 3.5. And she was the reason why like I mentioned, I graduated in 3 years of my undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at my credits one day or something, picking out classes. And she was like, if you take like 2 extra classes here, like you can graduate in 3 years. Like that's what I'm doing. So, we're very competitive. I was like, well, I'll just graduate in 3 years now. So, it all worked out.
And then get my master's right after.
Yeah, master's paid for. So it worked out awesome.
So let's jump back into the basketball side of things. What is the typical day for a Division I college basketball player?
Wow. Okay.
Is there a typical day?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely structure. Things that we do every day. Obviously, there's off days involved sometimes, but we're always in the summertime. It's always, depending on your class schedule in the summers, because we're there all summer. We're taking summer classes. Sometimes it's in class, sometimes it's online. But during the summer times, it's always we have lifting for an hour, individuals for an hour, and then open gym. So that's about an hour and a half, or lifting for an hour and then a 2-hour practice. So I don't know what the exact, I think it's like 10 hours a week you get with a team or something, but we would have whatever that is, 2 or 3 2-hour practices during the week. And then the days we didn't have practice, we'd have individual workouts and open gym, which is just pick up. But lifting would be, 4 or 5 days a week. So my freshman year was tough. I definitely had to adjust. I mean, I've always been a very hard worker, but it's a big jump from single A, single A high school basketball to, big time Power 5, Big 12 basketball. But, it was a learning adjustment, but I'm happy I stuck through all 4 years, to be completely honest.
And so what's Huggy Bear like as in practice? What's his overall, because we see him on the sideline, you see him get mad and whatnot, but what's he like on the day-to-day?
He's very intense. Demands a lot of effort out of you. And, when you're in it, it's hard to see that. And I struggled with that for 2 years. I've been open about it. I struggled with that for 2 years, where my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't play a lot. So imagine, like you kind of mentioned the accolades, 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, state champion, on top of the world, go to West Virginia, don't really play for 2 years, and I'm still getting screamed at almost every day. That was a hard adjustment for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I just had to, kind of take a step back, look deep down inside of me and just kind of man up, to be completely honest. But my junior and senior year, I could understand that, he's a very intense guy. The best advice I got from a former player was to listen to what he's saying, not how he's saying. Okay. So it's obvious. I mean, Hugs is very animated, yells a lot. Like, that's no question. You know what I mean? And it just took me 2 years to kind of figure out, like, when he's really going at you, kind of just stay cool, calm, and collective, listen to what he's actually trying to tell you, and kind of go from there, rather than being how I took it my first 2 years was, he didn't like me. That's why he's yelling at me. So it's not personal, where, I figured it out my junior, senior. That's why I had more success on the floor. My last 2 years at West Virginia.
Mm-hmm. So your senior year is the COVID year, correct?
Yeah.
It's the come on, we watched everybody, the Madison Square Garden, where they pull everybody off the floor, and you kind of realize what is for you. That's right. That's the end of the season. So what is the COVID experience like for you guys? Because
So I mean, obviously, all the way up until March, everything was normal.
Mm-hmm.
We started off really good at my senior year, and then I think our February, we had a really bad February. I think we won like one game in February or something, but we won our last game in February. Kind of just felt like the momentum was going back towards us. And then we played Baylor at home for senior night. That's when I proposed to Lindsay. And that was my last game as a Mountaineer. So that's a way to go out. You know what I mean? If you want to go out, that's the way you go out. We beat Baylor at home. They're number 4 in the country. I think we were ranked. I can't really remember. So everything at that point's fine. COVID's not an issue. We got out to the Big 12 tournament on Tuesday. Life is normal.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday night, a couple of us were sitting in the hotel room watching the NBA game, and that's when all the guys left the floor. Well, they were told to leave the floor because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like, oh, man, this might not be good. So Thursday morning, we're supposed to play Oklahoma that night, first round. And Oklahoma beat us twice in the season. However, we were things were going our way. Practices were good. The energy was good. Like, we were really happy with our matchup versus Oklahoma. And I remember we were supposed to have shoot around at like 11:30. We were sitting in the lobby at 11, and guys were just sitting around. I'm on Twitter. I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I see ACC tournament canceled, Big 10, Pac-12. I'm like, oh, shit. Literally 10 seconds later after that, we get a text from one of our coaches saying, hey, they canceled the Big 12 tournament. Go get your bags, put them in the lobby. We don't know when our plane's going to be back. And then we're like, oh, man. 2 or 3 hours later, I'm sitting with Hugs. I remember I was sitting with Hugs. My parents were sitting beside me. Hugs was sitting across from me. There's a TV behind Hugs. And we were just talking like, damn, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. And I looked past Hugs, and on the ESPN on the bottom ticker, it says, breaking news, March Madness is canceled. And I was like, oh, no way. And, that's kind of how my college career ended.
So how does that being the ending there transition to you going over to Europe? So you start in Lithuania, correct?
Yep. Right.
And then now you're in Sweden.
I just finished in Sweden. Yeah. So, we have a lot of alumni come back. That's a really cool thing about West Virginia, where in the summer times, guys I looked up to, Kevin Jones, Joe Alexander, Alex Ruoff, John Flowers, Truck Bryant, Devin Ebanks, guys like that I grew up watching are in the facility. So, my freshman year, it's like, oh my gosh, that's Alex Ruoff. But now, like, Alex Ruoff and I are good friends. But to be honest, I really didn't know a ton about European basketball. So obviously those guys were playing, come talk about their experience. So that kind of, put that little idea in my mind. And then, my senior year, I went back and forth with the idea of, do I want to maybe get into coaching? Do I want to pursue my business degree, use something in that field? But once the season ended, kind of how it did, I was like, well, I can't go out like that, basketball wise, like,
yeah.
Proposing, great. But basketball standpoint, I can't go out like that. So
that was a very important clarification there. I saw that you.
She's upstairs listening, so I'm sure she appreciated that. But I couldn't go out that from a basketball standpoint. So hired an agent. They got me the job in Lithuania. Had a good rookie year. Then took a step up to play in Sweden. We had a great year in Sweden. Our team was very, very good. I had a solid second year. We made it to the championship, first time in club history. Best record in club history. Most wins in a row in club history. Like, broke every team record that we could possibly beat. Break. We beat that last year. So, Sweden was a great experience.
Now, what's on the horizon for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so I have an offer in Hungary to go play. I haven't signed it yet. Probably will end up in Hungary.
Okay.
Have a couple of days to kind of decide what I want to do, but I probably would assume I'm going to end up in Hungary for year 3.
And still have the bug. The basketball bug's not going away anytime soon.
No, it's still there. It's definitely still there. I'm still, working out 2 times a day. Like, the motivation's obviously still there. And Lindsay has 2 more years of vet school at Ohio State. So, it sucks being gone from each other for that long. However, she gets to come over for, an average about 3 weeks. So that makes it nice. But like I said, she's in vet school. She studies 20 hours a day. So, even if I was here just working a job or doing whatever, she would be in her room or at the library. This is a perfect like I said, it sucks being gone. I mean, apart from each other this long, but it's like the perfect time to do it. I mean, year 5 for me, she has 2 more years. So, when she's a vet, that's kind of when we'll decide what makes sense for us.
Now, I got to ask you, can you give me the name of, because that's why I went with the country instead of going,
Yeah.
So Lithuania's team was?
Palangos Crusade.
And the team that you were just with in Sweden?
Yeah, Yomplin Basket. It was in a town called Östersund, which is super north. So it was crazy. They told me the winters would be like dark and cold, but you don't really believe people in that, whatever. So I got there, and then from, oh my gosh, probably like the end of October to middle of February, sun would go down. Sun would come up about 10 a.m., go down 1 p.m., and it would never be sunny. It would just be cloudy. And I mean, there were snow piles 15, 20 feet high.
And just normal there, right?
Normal. It's just normal. Like, I didn't have a car in Sweden. I had a car in Lithuania, but I didn't have a car in Sweden. It was literally, I walk out my apartment, turn left, and walk straight for less than 10 minutes, 8 minutes. I was at the gym. But I would literally have to wear like long sleeve shirt, hoodie, big puffer jacket, and then I have to wear like long johns, 2 pairs of socks, sweatpants, walk to the gym in pitch dark at 2 p.m. You know what I mean? So that was an experience itself. However, like I said, our team was really good. I had 3 other imports on my team, 2 Americans, 1 Canadian, and we had a great time. And plus in Sweden, everyone speaks English, which makes it really nice. Lithuania, a lot of people speak English, which made it obviously tough. And I was the only American on the team.
So when you're playing, like you said, year 5 is when you're going to reevaluate. Do you feel that you still might want to pursue the coaching angle and that way and give kind of back to the game of basketball?
Yeah, I would definitely want to be around the game of basketball. I mean, one of my main goals I'd love to be able to do would be maybe like a player development coach and assistant coach on an NBA team. So, your position is to, do workouts for the players, study their game, improve their game. And I mean, I don't know a ton about it, but I'm assuming you're more so on that side of it rather than doing like X's and O's and scouting. You're more so getting paid to get our players better, and we'll handle the other side. So I'd love to do something along those lines. I still do in the summer times back in Wheeling. I do, I do basketball workouts for, the local high school kids and middle school kids. So I've been doing that the last 3 summers, and, I enjoy doing that.
So what advice would you have for, you got a kid that's in 7th grade that he picks up a basketball. What's the advice for him at home to make him a better basketball player on the day-to-day?
For sure. So I started taking basketball more serious in 7th grade. And when I say more serious, I mean not just showing up to practice, where I can still remember I'm a huge on writing down what I want to do. So 7th grade, got a notebook. I'm not sure where I might saw it on YouTube. I was big on YouTube as well, looking up basketball players, looking up their workouts. But in 7th grade, I remember having a notebook, and I would go to the gym by myself, or I would go with my dad, and I have written out what I want to work on. So, 5 squats, 10 makes of this. And then I want to work on a left-handed pull-up where, from 6th grade and lower, I believe that the game should be fun. The game's always fun. However, if you want to take that next step in your career or the next step in your game, the way to separate yourself is do the extra stuff. So, 7th grade practice would be 6:30 to 7:30, but I'm at the YMCA or the Wellness Center from 4 to 6, get picked up, go to practice, and then go home. I'm writing out my plan for the next day. You know what I mean? So I think that especially younger kids that want to actually take the game serious and want to get better, they have to figure out things that their friends are doing. A lot of kids in 7th grade weren't going to the gym for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and actually working on things. Like, you can go to the gym for 3 hours and mess around, where I was in there for an hour and a half, had my plan written out, and I was really determined and structured on what I wanted to do.
Well, that brings us to the end. I want to say thank you very much for taking the
For
time
sure.
to sit down with us. Good luck and a healthy, successful season in Hungary, if that's where you end up.
Yeah.
For all of you at home, go back to the beginning. If you're just joining us, makes no sense to watch the end because I'm just going to tell you where you can find all the stuff. So go back to the beginning because Chase had a lot of good stuff to say. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio on the audio side, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and the Wisdom app. The only one that's different is on Instagram. You have to type in dingo_talk. If you type in the regular Dingo Talk, it's going to show you the wild dogs from Australia. It's not me. It's not my page. You can give them some love too, but then, put the underscore there. Come follow us. Chase, again, thank you. Congratulations on the marriage and best of luck in Hungary.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And you guys can catch us every week, 10 a.m. here. We'll see you next week, Chuckleheads.